Hey everyone, welcome back to the NHL Coast to Coast podcast with my main man, Tori Duckworth. We're here, episode 18, June 10th, 2020. It's been about 4 weeks, a couple of mistrials of podcasts along the way. But this news that we'll probably be touching on today mostly it's been out and circulating for a couple weeks, and really it's the NHL. They've created their playoff format. Don't know for sure if they picked a date of the first games or any of that. I think it's all still speculative, but for the most part, gambling is flowing through the veins of most of the people out there. They can place bets. There's a bracket. We have some sort of idea of how the playoffs could play out once we get back to the ice. So today I think that's going to be our main focus, just breaking down that. I think maybe a couple other things that we talked about. What's been going on with you, Tori? Anything other than
in the sports
everything?
world?
Yeah, sports world.
Yeah. In the sports world, not too much. I mean, it took a long kind of hiatus there, paying attention to a whole lot of stuff. There wasn't a whole lot of excitement other than kind of doing a little bit of tidy work being commissioner for the fantasy league. But I just kind of jumped back a little bit back into sports this week and looking at the playoff matchups. It's honestly just a flip of a coin on everything.
Yeah.
There's maybe 2 or 3 matchups where you can actually make a pretty good educated guess and feel comfortable about it.
Mhm.
There's so many matchups that are just...
There's so many matchups. It's actually, I'm super excited because it's going to be a playoff format that's never been done.
Yep.
We got 24 teams in the mix, which is the most ever in this kind of scenario. And it's the middle of June and we haven't even started, so there's that. We'll have the implications that this will make on next season. I think it's pretty clear that there's going to be some. Again, it's kind of one of those things they're leaving on the back burner. We haven't discussed too much about that, so we might touch on that. But yeah, I guess, do you want to break down the format, or do you want me to kind of...
Yeah, sure, we can jump there. I just wanted to jump on something you said there. Just the 24 playoff team and just being the first time we've ever seen something like this. I think they should consider adopting this moving forward, because that extra round of playoffs gives the league so much more revenue. Quite honestly, if you got to cut the schedule from 82 down to whatever,
72,
80, that's fine. I don't think...
Whoa. We lost him. I gave it the smiley face. Let's see if we can bring him back right here. Quickly.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Are you?
Everything just reset on me there. Sorry about that.
Your computer reset?
No, just the internet browser said I lost all my connections.
So weird. It seems like we're back. We're not going to run into the past couple weeks where we just haven't been able to do anything. So
yeah.
Well, let's just go. We'll just keep going.
What was that? Where was I at? Sorry.
24 teams, increased revenue.
Adopting it
in the future, yeah. I
think
I was just gonna say I agree. Keep going.
Yeah, I think that the part I like about it most too is that there will be some seasons where maybe there's a couple teams that maybe really don't deserve to be in there, but they're getting an extra home game in the playoffs, which is good on the revenue side, but also from the prospect side and pick side. I think that if you then had what would that be, 8-team draft with the teams that are not in that format every year, and you can weight it more heavily, and you can really not give the advantage to like top 3. Instead of just doing the top 3 draft 1 through 8. And then there's no desire for tanking because who cares, right?
No, and that's exactly what I was going to say. No desire to tanking because, like, almost the whole season you're going to be having a shot, and all it's going to take is that 1 year where one of those teams that barely squeaks in goes deep to make everyone realize that, really, once you're in the dance, you have a chance.
If you have a first overall team and all of a sudden their goaltender gets hurt just going into the playoffs and you're playing one of these bottom teams, there's no way you can't actually think you have a legitimate shot.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously it's circumstantial, but like, you know what I mean? Like, there's looking at this current structure, breaking it down. I think there's just a quick off the cuff here. There's one, two, three teams I think who don't really have business being in the playoffs right now, but that's not bad considering you have 24 teams.
Yeah, no, totally. And
Maybe you take it down to 22, so your draft is top 10 to round down that side, and then
yeah, but that part just makes the brackets hard.
exactly it screws
Yeah.
everything else up. But then maybe the top team in each conference gets a bye through the entire first round, and then there's a benefit of not only winning President's Trophy, but also getting a bye for 2 weeks and letting everybody get healthy. Like, yeah, you're not playing, but you also haven't played five
Yeah, I know in
intense playoff
NFL they
games.
get the bye week, and that team usually it really helps them, like the perform, like they get the extra time to study their opponents, but that it might be a little different in that one game playoff scenario. I don't know, like getting that extra 5 games to play or whatever.
Hmm. But if you have it like this structure and you have the reseeding and then you have the top four teams play each other in a quick
Yeah,
round robin kind of play in type style thing, your matchups will never get stale because you could play 100 playoffs and you could end up with 80 of the same matchups, but you
yeah,
could also end up with 80 different matchups.
yeah. And let's we keep talking about the format, so let's just actually break it down
All right, cool.
exactly the
Let's get
format.
into
I'm
it.
gonna put that little photo up, just kind of explaining. It's not the greatest. It's a little small, but for me, but it gives us
What
the
courtesy of
idea.
Sportsnet?
Yes, courtesy of Per Elliot Friedman, Chris Johnson. I snagged it from you guys. Thanks for the free work. Please don't sue me. Um, but this thing kind of just breaks down what we're talking about here. We got
Hmm.
24 teams. The bottom 16 are put into a bracket format, which is displayed in the image. And then you got the 4 top teams of each conference, and the idea here is that they are going to play a round robin with each other for seeding. And then I know this image says that the seed number 1 will play the winner of 8 versus 9, but that's not the case. They're actually going to be reseeding every round.
Hmm.
So, for instance, let's just
Which
say
is what I
Boston
wanted
is
most.
seed 1 and forever, and just say all the favorites win, then Leafs would
You
be the
have to
lowest
reseed.
seed.
It should always
Yeah.
be best versus worst. Always, always, always. If there's an upset, well, then that team should still have a harder task moving forward.
Yeah. No,
And it
totally
also
agree.
benefits you trying to be the better team. Like if you're in the final stretch of the week and you're like, what's the difference between third and sixth? Well, the difference could be A, home ice, but also, a couple other benefits as well. But you want
Yep.
to go through each matchup and see
Yeah,
what we're
so
thinking?
I'm definitely down for that. I think we just start in the top left corner with our hometown heroes, or your hometown hero.
Well,
This.
full disclosure, I'm looking at a different sheet because I did a spreadsheet because that's what I
Oh,
do.
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So just you telling me the matchup and what that we're going to talk about, and I'll just follow along that way.
Sounds great. So first matchup we got Toronto Maple Leafs and the Columbus Blue Jackets at 8 and 9
Mm-hmm.
in the seedings.
You had to summarize this statement or summarize how you think this playoff will go and this series will go in one statement. What would the statement be?
It's gonna make or break the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Ooh,
And for Columbus, I think they're a sneaky underdog.
yeah.
That's
Mine is honestly, it's a goddamn coin flip.
yeah. Right now, Vegas has
I
it as
don't
one
know.
of the favorites of the Toronto Maple Leafs, but that's hard to really read into because when it comes to Toronto, they tend to attract more of the fan money. So
Hmm.
the price is usually bad to bet on the Toronto Maple Leafs in general.
If it's
Um,
an offensive series, obviously the Leafs will come out. But the thing that scares me is that the Leafs against all the teams who are maybe not as skilled but work hard, they don't do as well against.
yeah,
And they give up a lot of kind of bad timing goals, not so strong
or
goals,
the hard-working
goals
goals.
just after
Yeah,
penalty kills or power plays.
yeah,
Yeah, hard working type goals. Third shot, fourth shot on a shift where they bang it in finally off the post and in. Those things kill the Leafs. And the one good thing I heard is that crap, what's his name? Anderson on Columbus, the big boy.
Josh
Um,
Anderson.
Josh Anderson might not be ready to the start of the series,
Okay.
which is huge
Yeah.
because like I think the Leafs can deal with Foligno and Dubois and these other guys with size. I think they can handle Bjorkstrand and Atkinson as long as they don't take too many dumb penalties. But
Yeah.
it's a freaking coin flip. Honestly, I have no idea how it's
Yeah,
going
and
to go.
I think that like this, if the Leafs can come out of this series very strong, they're going to set themselves up for a very strong postseason.
Yes.
Otherwise, they're going to be on the golf course. So,
Yes. And like you said, it could start a chain reaction of
yep,
history changing stuff if maybe if it works that way.
yep, totally.
But I think that there's still going to be an overhaul in Toronto this season anyways. So
Okay, yeah,
I'm hoping that they go far because then obviously that just adds value to certain players.
yep.
In a perfect world, the Leafs go at least 2 rounds and then they can flip a couple guys off for more young talent. But yeah. Who do you have? How many games and who do you have if you had to bet right now?
Yeah, I'm taking the Leafs.
How many games?
Games wise, it's gonna be either 4 or 5. They'll lose one
Yeah.
at least.
I have it 3-1 Toronto.
Three
I think
one.
one game will be an overtime game, and I don't think that there'll be any more than like 5 or 6 goals scored in any one game. I think there'll be like a 2-1, 3-2 overtime, 2-1, 3-1 maybe kind of thing. All
Yeah,
really low scoring stuff, which
yeah.
doesn't favor Toronto, but if they can get out of that, I think it will bode well
It's
for
gonna
them.
be so strange. One thing we didn't touch on actually was that this first round is a best of 5. So
Yes,
I know we answered that kind of by saying
and
the Leafs
4.
will win in 4 or 5. Well, I guess.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, when I said 3-1,
yeah,
it kind of made sense, but yeah,
yeah,
we
but
should have clarified. It's obviously best of 5.
best of 5. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that'll be it. I'm definitely I'm going with the Leafs on that one.
Yeah. I had to bet 10 times. I'm betting the Leafs 10 times, but if I'm actually trying to predict who's going to win, it's going to be 5, like five each side.
Yep.
Like
Okay.
it's going to be I think it's the hardest series to predict in the first round. Nice.
All right. Well, you want to move on to the next one? We got the Penguins and the Montreal Canadiens at 5-12. Seeds 5-12. Sorry. I think we have different opinions on this one. For me,
No, I think that we agree. It's just depends how close it's going to be.
yeah, I think the Penguins are
Assuming
going
we're
to
both
lay
on
the
Pittsburgh.
smack down on these kids. Wouldn't
What's
be.
that?
I think the Penguins are going to lay the smack down on these kids. I don't think it's
Hmm.
going to be too close. The only thing that's a little worrisome is that it is best of 5. Um, but I would not be surprised to see the Penguins win a huge game, first game, like 6-0, 6-1. Wouldn't shock me.
Yeah.
Um,
And then the series settles
and
in
then
after that.
yeah. So I
I
would
could
say
see
the
that.
Penguins in 4, um, just because calling a sweep seems greedy.
Yeah. I
But
agree. And Price can steal one game.
yeah,
That's what I have is that I kind of was going with storylines, either 2 or 3 kind of storylines I'm thinking of for each series. And I had Pittsburgh, the Penguins power play.
yeah.
I think it's just too strong. And Carey Price. I think those will be the 2 storylines of that series.
Of all the
Pittsburgh and 4.
games out there, I think this one is the biggest favorite in my views.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, I think
I'm actually changing
of
my prediction. Toronto 3-2 Toronto over Columbus, not 3-1.
okay. I think with the Penguins,
Yeah.
the experience and just the veteranness is just going to play such a role in this kind of restart that I anticipate the Penguins to have a good postseason because normally they kind of get tired and whatnot at this time of year, and when they after winning some cups they kind of took a back seat last year. I think they got swept by the Islanders if I recall. So now they got that
All I'm
extra.
gonna say is I don't agree with you being able to say that because we don't know what the 4 seeded system's going to look like in terms of the play-in. So I mean, the matchup we don't know who the matchup's going to
Oh,
be. Like
that's
if
we'll
Pittsburgh
get
has to
there.
play Boston or Washington round 2, like into the technical first round,
Hmm.
that's not an easy.
Based on the
start. Like,
reseeding, they should play the worst team, though, right?
yes, which we'll get there.
Yep. That's my only counter to that. But we'll
Yeah.
get to our predictions on that. Yeah. Next one, Islanders.
What do you have? Who you have Pittsburgh and how many games?
4. I just said 4 to be safe, but I could see a sweep.
Okay. Yeah, I see Pittsburgh in 4 as well.
All right, Islanders, Panthers. I think this is probably my least down there as my least interested one to watch.
Yeah.
Don't have a whole lot of interest in either team.
Yeah.
They're kind of both like fighting to stay in the playoffs to begin with. Both of them might have missed should this went the regular route. It's really a coin flip. I see on this one.
I agree. But who do you have?
I'm gonna give this one to Florida.
Agreed. How many games?
In 4.
Ooh, I got 5.
Florida in
My
5.
main storyline's Bobrovsky. I think Bobrovsky's going to be the best goaltender in the first round.
That's me too.
I think it's going to make it hard on Islanders because I don't think they're going to be able to generate enough offense. I think they'll be close games, but I think it would just be Bobrovsky making a ton of saves.
Yeah.
And Florida scoring some power play goals and some clutch goals and just winning when it matters or scoring when it matters.
Yeah.
Which I think would be really big for both Barkov and Huberdeau to really get some kind of, we'll call it national attention.
Yep. Totally.
Probably long overdue. Especially for Barkov. I guess we got the Rangers and Carolina next.
Yeah, that's the last one.
I think we're on the same board on this one.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Rangers.
Yep.
How many games?
I got Rangers in 5.
That's what I have too. What's your storyline, or how do you see it coming out?
I anticipate high scoring series. Probably the highest scoring in the East.
Might be, yeah.
Fast paced hockey. Should be a good series to watch. One of the ones I'm going to have my eyes on for sure.
Yeah. I think exactly that. I think it's going to have probably the most goals scored in the first round in all of the series.
Yep.
And I think, unfortunately, a lot of them are going to come at Carolina's expense. And I could see like a couple 5-4, 5-3 kind of games for the Rangers. And, I mean, if you ranked all of the goaltenders on both teams, I'm picking 3 of the Rangers goaltenders before I even get to any of the Carolina goaltenders. So, I mean, if I'm betting on a goaltender being important in a series, which we all know is actual fact at least 7 or 8 out of 10 times, if I'm betting on goaltenders and I have to bet on 3 on the same team before I would be willing to bet on another team, not to say nobody can step up, but I don't know.
Agreed. And like with the Rangers, I think they were playing some very exciting hockey. Like, had the season gone the full length, they had the potential to make a crazy run and make the playoffs still. They were just having that kind of season. It's just all coming together for them at the right time, it seems.
Also had some bad injuries too down the stretch, which hurt them.
Yeah. Rangers opened up as a pretty big dog and came back to even money with Carolina and with Vegas. So it's interesting. It seems like the smart money seems to be coming in on the Rangers, which sounds good to me. All right, do you want to look at the West bracket, or do you want to go to the 4 round robin? Might as well stick with the East.
Yeah, I was going to say stay in the East, I think.
Yep. So with this, we got the 4 teams.
They're each going to play each other one time, right? So you got to think of what the results are going to be when they each play each other one time.
Yep.
What do you think the difference maker is going to be in that kind of round robin? Because I don't think it's going to have the same intensity as the other series.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think, but people are going to kind of like rush up. I would kind of expect Tampa Bay to be the strongest one. Kind of banking on how last year they fell up way short of where they wanted to be, right? So I think they're going to come out firing. I've been kind of following a few of them on social media. They seem pretty hard into the grind, but I'm sure all the players are.
Yeah. So you think the Lightning will come out top dog.
I think the Lightning will be top dog. Yeah.
I looked at the teams and I was kind of comparing them like segment by segment. So like I said, like for example, forwards. Well, I think those four teams have probably pretty comparable forwards
Mhm.
in both firepower and depth. Special teams, I think their power plays are all pretty potent. Penalty kills, I think they're all pretty solid. Defense, I think they're all pretty comparable. And then you go to goaltenders, I think the clear best goalie is Vasilevsky. And in a play-in series, I think Vasilevsky will play all 3 games.
Yep.
Where in round 1, you might have to play your backup or your number 2 at least 1 game, especially if there's 3 games in 4 nights. So that was my big thing for picking Tampa was Vasilevsky.
Yeah. That accompanied with how they just want to respond from last year.
Yeah, and the fact they went out and got those 2 good pieces. And who did they get again? The small guy from New Jersey, Coleman, and who was the other guy that they picked up? Some size. I forget who it was.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah. Who would you have as a number 2 seed?
So this is where it's kind of up in the air. I anticipate Washington to be a little bit slower out of the gate. I think I'm going to take this. This is probably a little bit of a gamble here. I'm going to take Philadelphia. No, yeah. I'm going to go with Philadelphia, number 2.
That was me about a couple hours ago when I was looking at it. I can take this. No.
It's so
Boston,
close.
but it was Boston, Philly, right? Boston, Philly, and then Washington 4.
Yeah, I got Washington as 4.
That's how I see it.
Yeah.
I picked it for one reason. Because I think Boston will finish 2nd. And I've been calling Boston, Florida all year. You know that.
Yeah.
So I got to continue on with it, right? I can't go against Boston, Florida. But the funny thing is Boston, Florida could be the matchup, or no, probably not, depending. There'd have to be an upset. But Florida, if we are right about New York, Florida will be the second bottom team, right?
Yep.
So they play the number 2 team. So that's why I changed it. But I did want to put Philly number 2, but I have to go with my Boston Phillies or Boston, Florida. So I picked Boston too.
Yeah, I think the more I give it a quick look, I might give the edge to Boston just for the veteran goalies over Philly. That's probably where I should lean a little bit. So I think
Hart could also go off for 3 games too.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh,
he could.
That's also, but I agree. I think Washington, exactly what you said. Washington will be a little bit slow out of the gate, which doesn't really mean anything. Just means that they'll have the 4th seed, the worst seed of the top 4.
Yeah.
So then I guess we have the same matchups. We have Tampa versus Rangers in the first round. We picked the Rangers to come out, right?
Yep. Be Tampa and the Rangers.
The second, or we agree on the second matchup, Boston versus Florida.
Yep.
We agree on the third matchup.
Yeah.
Philly versus Toronto. Which I would love. Love.
That'd be pretty good.
Washington, Pittsburgh. Which is another one I've been calling all year.
Yeah, that's pretty greasy. I like it.
It would be an unreal first round. I would watch every single one of those matchups, every single one of those games.
Yeah, it just seems like the way this is like this format is, it's making for more exciting brackets.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why.
Playoffs in general, because you don't know up until like 2 or 3 days before who you're actually going to be playing.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's cool.
It's more variance because you can't just build because Boston knows if you're going through Boston or Tampa, they know as long as we're built a certain way, people are going to have to play our style, which doesn't always work. But now if you open that up to everyone in the Eastern Conference, maybe that style just doesn't work that year, you know?
Yep. It's great. All right, let's move on to the West.
Cool.
We're going to start with that 8-9 Flames versus Jets. One of my favorite ones of the first round. Mainly because
this is the Toronto-Columbus series for me in the West.
Is it?
I honestly can't. I don't know. I flip-flop. Every time I look at it, I change my mind.
Well, if you've been...
I have no idea.
If you're a fan of the podcast and been following along, you know how much I hate the Flames. But they always
Yeah.
do the opposite of what I say. So I still put my money on, out of all the first rounds, I put money on one series, and this is the series, and I went against the Flames because I think the Jets are just better than the Flames in every position.
See, I don't know. Like in net, I'd say Hellebuck's probably the best goaltender of the bunch, but I don't know that only because I really don't believe in that defense on the Winnipeg team.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've been treading water all year and hiding that problem, and I just don't know if they're going to come out of this break the same. So that worries me.
Yeah.
And if their defense struggles, Hellebuck won't be as dynamite, which I think might open the door for Calgary to get some goals, which might obviously allow them to win the series. Or Winnipeg's defense could continue to hold up, and Hellebuck could play way better than Calgary can really score on them, and they'll beat them easily. So I'm all over the map on this series. I have no idea.
For me, they got the check mark on goalie by a wide margin. They got a check mark on forwards by a wide margin. I think that's enough to win it.
Really? You think Winnipeg's forwards are a wide margin better than Calgary's?
I do, yeah. I just think they're faster. They have two very good lines on Winnipeg.
They do.
Calgary
has
has
one
kind
and a
of
half.
depth issues. They have Lucic, who does not worry me whatsoever.
Yeah.
I doubt this time off has helped him any. So I don't know. That's just. But like I said, this whole season I've had Calgary wrong. So.
Yeah. I like I said, this is the Toronto Columbus series in the West for me. It's a coin flip for me. If I had to bet, like just to try and win the bet, I'd probably have to go Calgary, which I have Calgary in 5. But if you told me I had to bet my entire life and savings and everything on a team, I'd probably feel more comfortable betting on Winnipeg.
Okay.
I just don't know.
So you got Calgary in 5. All right, I'll take the Jets in 4.
Okay.
Next series, I think, is a really interesting one. We got the Oilers and the Blackhawks. It's like
this will be fun.
Yeah, the old guard versus the new guard. I think this is one of the more exciting series too, just because of who the two teams are.
It's going to be Taze's line versus McDavid's line, and then it's going to be Kane's line versus Draisaitl's line, and then everybody else is a bunch of merry men.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be fun. More penalties, the better.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think this has a sneaky chance of being what you said earlier as the highest scoring series in the first round.
I would give it that for the West for sure.
Yeah. Unless Nashville, Arizona just play like garbage and win 7-6 or 6-5.
Yeah, Mike Kemper is not going to do that. Don't worry.
Oh man, I don't even want to talk about that series.
All right, we'll get to it. We'll skip it quick. But for this, Oilers, Blackhawks, who you got?
It's 5. It's going at least 4 or 5, no matter what. But I got it going 5, and I have Edmonton coming out because I think Chicago will put up a really good fight. But I mean, I just think if we're talking about those two lines just head to head, I'm betting on the Edmonton horses over the Chicago horses.
Yep, you hit the points for me too. I got Oilers in 5.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun series though. That's one I'm gonna make time for sure.
Me as well. All right.
Assuming everything obviously starts up.
Yeah, I guess we should. It's still this still might not happen, but it's fun to speculate on something that should happen.
Yeah.
All right.
Hopefully, I think everyone needs it.
Vancouver can.
Next series, who do you got? Vancouver Mini?
Mini, yeah.
I think you said something last time, or maybe it was just we were talking about Minnesota, but I don't know if I agreed with it.
Okay. I don't remember.
Was it you who thinks that Minnesota's going to pull it out?
I do, yes. I think they're going to win, and it feels dirty even saying it.
You shouldn't probably tell people you're from Vancouver then.
Yeah. No, dude, I look at these games with my brain. I don't pick teams with my heart. unless you're
But
Vegas.
hold on, I got a question. After everything we've talked about, you've been nailing on a lot of goaltending and special teams and stuff like that. You think Minnesota has better goaltending than Vancouver?
Um, no. I think it's close.
Okay.
Markstrom, if he plays the way he was, the only thing he's a question mark to me because he was dealing with an injury prior to all this. If that's
Yeah,
a
for
non-issue,
sure.
I probably would lean Vancouver to win this series. But on the
Yeah.
balance of just what I know and where we are, I just give the slight edge to Minnesota just based on the history. But the more talking about this now, the more I'm making the thought that I should change my mind because really Minnesota
Vancouver
kind of at the trade
traded
deadline,
off some
yeah,
pieces
they
too.
traded off some. The Canucks were like actually going for the playoffs. They have like you made the point. They have a pretty strong power play. Good solid. They have quite a bit of depth, and they are also suffering from quite a few injuries going into this.
Yes, they
So
were. Yes.
so I'm
They also
assuming
had some kids coming up too, right?
yeah. So
Kids that
I'm
didn't
gonna
finish the
change my
season out on
pick.
the AHL.
I do think this game's going to five
That's the only
though.
thing too that makes this series in particular. Like, hold on, let me make sure I'm right. One sec, I gotta close my laptop down a little bit. Standings. I'm pretty sure that both Vancouver and Minnesota had teams in the top of the AHL. They say Minnesota and Vancouver. Okay, not Vancouver, but Minnesota did. So Minnesota would be adding a bunch of talent from the AHL level. So like that could change the game a little bit from
Yeah,
really what you would think. But the best way I summarize this to myself, or if I had to, would be this is Vancouver's series to lose.
yeah,
If they don't perform, if they don't execute
yeah.
on the
There
power
could be
play,
some
if their
firings
goaltending struggles, yeah, they'll lose this series. But if they play
the way they
B
can.
level or B plus level or better game, they should come out of this series.
Yeah, I'll agree with that, but I'm still gonna stick with 5 games for Vancouver.
Yeah. Got Vancouver in 4.
All right, now your favorite series of the bracket.
So who do you think's gonna win the four team play in the Western Conference?
Let's just be quick. I know you think this is going to be a boring hockey game. For me, I think it's Coyotes all the way. Uh,
I
they're
have
going
the
to
other
win
way
in
right
5.
now.
Pardon?
I have a sweep Nashville. I have a Nashville sweep.
Nashville sweep. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. All right, moving on.
Arizona has nothing.
They have Taylor
I know
Hall.
you love.
They have Darcy
I know you
Kemper.
love
They
your
have depth.
boy. I know you love your boy.
They have depth. They have top draft talent for the past 5 years.
So did Edmonton. What did that get them?
5th overall in the Western Conference.
I don't know. I don't believe the way that the Coyotes are built. I believe they're built poorly and built up to be better or look better than they actually
It's
are.
going to be the
And
lowest
then again,
scoring series.
I agree, but if you break down like what we were talking about earlier, goaltenders, I think it's an absolute toss-up. Realistically, like,
Yep.
Rene is probably the best goalie, but he's also old,
Oh, do you
38, I
think they're
think.
going to play Rene?
I don't know who's their other goalie again.
Saros?
Sorry.
Saros?
Oh, Saros, yeah.
Saros.
So, yeah, I guess. I mean,
They were riding
I just think
Saros at the end when it all went to shit, when the whole
they
season.
were.
So that's the
He
only
got
reason
them
I
out of
say
the
that. I assume they'll probably go to Rene, but
Yeah, either way, I mean, I guess my main point with the goaltending is like I don't see much difference between 1 and 4 for all 4 of those goaltenders. So I don't think
yep.
this series is going to be about goaltending. And then if I move out to defense, I probably like Nashville's defense as a core or as a unit slightly better than Arizona's,
Yep.
unless they're fully healthy. And then I think maybe Arizona has a tiny smidge of an edge. And then when it comes to offense, like, yeah, Arizona has probably the best player up front in Hall, but I think realistically, Nashville, I think that they could change it up and say instead of having a 4-line team, okay, we're gonna have a 3-line team, and I don't think Arizona can match that. And I
Yeah,
think that
and I think
Nashville
Phil Forsberg can probably match Hall in terms of talent too.
probably, and Nashville has the centers probably too, right? Because they have Johansson, Turris,
Yeah,
and
Duchesne.
Duchesne. So I mean, if you have those three playing center, and who
Yeah.
cares who your fourth line center is, right? You run those three guys with your wingers in that first series.
Damn
I
it,
just
Tori.
don't think
Damn
Arizona can
it.
keep up.
Are you trying to make me change my mind here?
That's why you got to break down all the components, because
Yeah.
sometimes you're like, oh shit, like
Yeah.
I just don't see where the offense is going to come from Arizona unless they just everything hits right, and I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I think it's going to be a sweep. To me, it's the only sweep series. I think it's sweep one way or another.
One way or another. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with the Coyotes in 5 because I think it's gonna be like gross like that.
Cool.
We're gonna see a triple overtime. All right.
Maybe. In that particular series, or you're saying we're just going to see a triple overtime game?
I think we would see one in general, but I was talking about that series.
Okay, cool. I just want to make that on the record.
All right, Western Conference, top 4 teams in the round robin. We got Blues, Avalanche, Vegas, Stars.
I struggled with this.
I think
to me, it's just, I don't know.
My money's on Vegas to take the 1 seed.
I had it St. Louis or Vegas, yeah.
There's potential that the hub is in Vegas, which would be the hugest boost and kind of unfair, but it's potential.
Yeah, true.
I don't know. I think you know me. I just love the Vegas team. I think it's put together so well. They did.
Who's the other team that's kind of bugging you a bit though? Might take that spot. Is it like that, or is it just you
no, I think they're pretty. I just think they're the best team of the 4.
Okay. For me, it was St. Louis, Vegas. Those were the 2 teams I was stumbling upon for 1-2.
I'm having that St. Louis Avalanche conversation. That I don't
2-3.
Yeah, I don't know where to put it. Colorado is one of those teams that was doing so well until they got smashed with the injury bug.
Yeah, but they're all coming back now.
Mm-hmm.
But do you believe in their goaltending?
I think that's the big question mark with this team.
I mean, that's a big Grubauer and Francouz.
I was riding the Francouz in the fantasy playoffs. He was going to carry me. So, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, and that's why right now I'm leaning towards St. Louis. But I think for the sake of the podcast, I'm going to say Avalanche too. Beating out St. Louis, and I just got Dallas in behind. I don't know. Dallas just never gives me that thing to trust in them past their 2 players. Fair. And Ben has been having a mediocre year.
I think Dallas is a team that's built for the playoffs, though. I think they're a better team. Like if you're going to compare their build for playoff versus build for regular season, I think Dallas is a better playoff built team than a regular season built.
Possibly.
I have the struggle. I have Dallas locked in for me at 3.
Okay. So that knocks.
Because Bishop to me is important.
Okay.
I think he's the best goaltender in the West in those 4 teams, anyways. Yes, Fleury's right there behind him, but if I'm betting on any of those,
honestly, I even say Leonard's the better goalie than Fleury.
Oh, I forgot he was in Vegas.
Yeah, that's where I put a lot of weight on Leonard being there because he's been playing amazing for 2 years. Yeah, that's a lot of what my decision is. I honestly think they're gonna ride Leonard. I think in the round robin they'll play. Actually, let me rephrase this.
You know what? You've just changed my mind on that one. I forgot they had Leonard, and you know me, I'm a big fan of Leonard.
Yeah. I just think they're gonna play them both 1 game in the round robin, and then whoever does better will probably get the rest of it until they. Yeah. I assume. I really wouldn't. I don't know. I don't know what Vegas' season Leonard as like a long-term possible stay with their team. I don't know if that's possible with the cap situation,
It's
but
hard with Fleury, right?
yeah, but he's gonna be hanging it up eventually, doesn't he?
And he said, like, at the time of the expansion, he said that, like, because he was in so many battles against all the other teams as a Penguin, he didn't feel right playing for any other team.
Yep.
And the reason why he was open to go to Vegas was because there was something new.
Yeah.
So, like, unless he's now going to go to Seattle, I don't think it's either you stay in Vegas or retire if you're the Flower.
Yeah, he still has 2 more years at like $7 million, so it might be really hard for
He's got a no trade too. So I don't think he's going anywhere. And that's what, $6 million?
7.
7 mil. So that's a lot of cap to carry as a platoon goalie, unless it's a prospect that you have coming up, right?
Yeah, so maybe this. Oh, I love that trade for Leonard when it happened.
Oh, it was sexy, yeah.
Yeah. But here we are. So it's going to be interesting how Vegas plays that tandem.
Yeah, thank you. You just changed my pick around. So yeah, I have Vegas coming out top now. And like I said, to me, Dallas at number 3 was my lock-in. Like, everything's based off me seeing Dallas as the number 3 team.
Yep.
So if I changed St. Louis off 1, so now I have Vegas, St. Louis, Dallas, and Colorado. I love Colorado's scoring and everything about them except their goaltending. And out of those 4 teams, Vegas has 2 really good goalies. St. Louis has 2 goalies that seem to be really good on the team they're on. Yeah. Dallas has 2 really good goalies. And Colorado has the 7th best goalie and the 8th best goalie out of this top 8 goalies in that round.
Yeah.
Out of that play-in. So, like, I think that's going to be the difference maker for them. Can't score. In playoff hockey, you can't outscore all of your problems. So that's why I have Colorado as the bottom of those 4 teams.
Awesome. I guess we can look at
we can look at
the next round potentially.
But we're both all
we're all over the place. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. But
who did you have Vegas playing again?
So in my scenario, Vegas would play the Coyotes.
Okay, and who would you take there?
Vegas in a sweep. No, maybe in 4. Yeah. What?
Yeah,
I'd say Vegas. Yeah.
You have? Did you pick St. Louis as your number 2 team?
No, Avalanche.
Colorado.
So I would have the
okay.
Avalanche would be playing the Jets, which I think would make for a pretty good series.
It would be a good series.
Honestly, at this point, I don't even want to choose without seeing how they play. But if I I'll just skip over that. Next series would be the Canucks versus the Blues, which those 2 teams have had some good games this season. They were all very close, so that'd be a pretty interesting series, actually.
That's your 3 series?
Yeah.
St. Louis versus Vancouver?
Yeah.
That's my 2 series. It's funny that we have the same
we still get the same matchup, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I had to have
what did you have in that matchup, sorry?
I'm just saying that it's going to be close. I don't know. I could... Again, it's going to be like how I see them play going in. But at this time, I guess I'd have to take the Blues in 7.
Okay. The Blues in 6.
And then we got
That'd be a fun series, though. That'd be a tough series, though.
Which one? Those 2?
Those Canucks?
Yeah, they've had... During the season, I just watched... Because I just had an interest in their game because I always bet the Canucks every time they played because for some reason they're a huge underdog and they're always very close games, like couple overtimes. Canucks won at least 2 of them. So
watch that.
It'd be a good series. Oilers and Dallas would be mine.
Ooh, that would be a good series too.
Yeah. So
would you take out of that?
I would take the Oilers.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? We're I feel like we're on the exact same vibe in the East.
And then
almost the exact same vibe, but I feel like the West we are way off. But you also watch so much more Western hockey, so it makes me think like
I'm in the West.
Probably closer to right.
Well, I do have. Sometimes I grow a little bit of love for Western teams like the Coyotes and such too. Because I do watch them.
Yeah.
So do the biases creep in? Maybe it's potential.
Yeah, both ways. I'll give a quick rundown of the series I have. So I have Vegas winning that play-in, which would mean that for me, the way I have the other teams, it would be them versus Calgary, which I think would be a pretty good series. But I almost would prefer to see Colorado Winnipeg now over Vegas Calgary. But I picked my picks. So I have Vegas in 6. Then I have the St. Louis Vancouver series, and I have the St. Louis in 6. And then this is where I have something different, and I have Dallas versus Nashville.
That'd be pretty. That's a rematch from last year.
It is, and I'm just curious, if you had that series, what would your prediction be?
Probably Nashville.
Really? I have a
Can you tell I don't
down.
have a soft spot for the Stars at all?
No. I have a feeling about the Stars right now. I don't know why.
Okay.
I just have a feeling about them.
I need one of those emotes that pop up. Tori has a gut feeling and just starts flashing on the screen.
If I'm being honest, the reason why I'm feeling it is that I had just a flashback a while back of Sega Genesis, the handheld Sega Genesis.
Yep.
I had NHL 94 or 96. I can't remember the exact one. But I played it a lot as a kid, and the only 2 teams I would ever play as is Toronto and Dallas.
Oh, okay.
And then when I started playing PS2, the only teams I would play online, the only 2 teams I would ever use would be Toronto and Dallas. So you can see where my theme is going here. But yeah, so I have Dallas sweeping Nashville.
So Nashville sweeps and then gets swept.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think they'll sweep the Coyotes. They'll lose that kill mode. Dallas will come in. They have the better goaltending. They have the better defense, and they just think they're built better for playoff hockey. And yeah, Nashville probably has the best center depth there. I just think Dallas will kind of just smother them.
Okay, cool.
And then that leaves me to my final series, which I think would be hella fun to watch. Colorado and Edmonton.
That'd be a good one. Did you make your picks specifically so they'd play each other?
Oh, I didn't actually, but when I got to it, because it obviously was the last one I got to, I was like,
nice.
Sick. I want to see that series.
That would be a good series.
And what would your projection be if it was Colorado Edmonton? Who would you take?
Probably the Avs.
Took Edmonton in 7.
Yeah, well, yeah, I would say Avs in 7.
Yeah, well, Colorado's goaltending is going to.
I'm giving the slight edge just on defense.
Yeah, but to me in that entire round, the weakest goaltending goes to Colorado easily. If you're looking at Vasilevsky, Tuukka Rask, Carter Hart, Braden Holtby, Robin Leonard, Binnington, Bishop.
But the Oilers don't have the greatest goaltending either.
No, but what exactly is Koskinen? I mean, he is 6'6". Not that means a lot, but I believe in him way more than I would ever even consider believing in Colorado's goaltending. But I mean, if the horses of the offense of Colorado is going to go at it, what better team to go against that than Edmonton Horses, right?
So. That would be exciting, man. Just talking about some of these potential series, getting me so pumped up for the playoffs. It's gonna be great. I just hope they happen. Like, they haven't picked a date yet. Seems like July seems to be the target date, but with everything going on out there in the world right now, it seems there's concerns of a second wave of COVID and what are the impacts that could have on sports restarting. I just wish we could go back to forgetting about all this shit and just play hockey.
Let's have some faith and let's talk as if we know what's going to happen and put some good juju out there and see what happens.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to ask you there. So you've done your breakdowns. Have you done them all the way to the Final Four?
No.
Okay.
But we can keep going. Is that what you're hoping to do?
I just wanted to see who your Final Four would be. I just realized mine are messed up because I changed my prediction in the West.
All right, so I'm going to just go back. I'm going to stay in the West because that's where I was talking. I had Vegas. Then I had... what did I say? You're not writing this down, are you?
Yours, but mine. I'm correcting mine.
I can't remember if I picked the Blues or the Canucks. I think I said
Pick the Blues, I
the
think.
Blues in 7. Okay.
I think so.
So I'm gonna say my final 4 are gonna be Vegas and oh man. I'm gonna have Vegas and the Oilers for the West. And then for the East, jeez, I'm gonna have Tampa and the Penguins.
Interesting. Interesting.
What?
You have the Penguins over the Capitals then in round one.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. My final 4 would be Vegas versus Dallas, and I would pick Dallas in 7.
Uh-huh.
And I'm flip-flopping. I mean, to be honest, I feel like the final 4 in the East is a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Which for me is Tampa, Toronto, Boston, Washington. Which I would want to lean to say Toronto or one of Boston or Washington. And the way that I have it with Toronto versus Philly in round 1, that's one set of demons. And then I have Toronto versus Tampa in round 2, which would be kind of clearing current stage.
Yeah.
And then it would be interesting to see if it was Boston, Washington, another. If Toronto's going to do it, I want to see them go through Boston. So I'm going to say
In
Toronto,
the conference
Boston,
final.
in the conference final.
That's great.
And I'll take Toronto in 5.
Oh shit.
And I have Vegas, Dallas, and I have Dallas in 7, and then I have Toronto and Dallas for the Cup.
Wow. My cup it's a little more expected, I would say, than yours. I have Vegas versus Tampa.
Okay. And who would you take?
I would take Tampa in 6.
Series. Only thing I was looking at the Leafs playoff roster, like the actual players, and right now the word is that you can, as of right now, they've confirmed you can carry at least 28 guys going into the playoffs, but many other teams or some teams currently have more than that number. They may tell them in a couple weeks, like, now you got to bug off, but stick around for the time being. So it'll be interesting how many more they add. It'll be interesting if they include injured players.
Yeah.
Because looking at the Leafs roster, man, they look good. A little shaky, but
they do. I do believe that. I just don't know if they can get past Tampa.
Yeah, I'm not confident of that. But the way that I have it, just because I see Johnson's not going to be ready until after round 1 at least. So they've already announced that Nick Robertson, their top prospects, with the team. But to me, it's logical that he goes into that spot until either Robertson plays himself off the team, or Johnsson comes off injury and plays himself back on the team, which then makes our third line Mikheyev, Kerfoot, and Kapanen, which I haven't looked in depth, but that might be the best third line in the playoffs.
Yeah,
it might be. I don't know that for sure, but I'm gonna bet and say it's at least in the top 5.
I'm realizing that that my pick had the Leafs versus Boston in the first round. The way I had picked things. So I would think the Leafs get past Boston, and then whoever they play then, which would probably be Tampa. I just think I think they make the final 8, but that's where I leave them. Just because if they can find a road not through Tampa, they'll be in the final 4. I just don't know if that's
or if they can beat Tampa, they're going to be playing at such a level that they can probably beat anybody.
Exactly, that's very true too. I would Yeah, it would not shock me, to say the least, that the Leafs won at all. It would not
And then
shock
the
me.
yeah, the fourth line I have is Clifford, Spezza, and Engvall, which if you're pushing the goat out of the lineup, that lineup's got everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got 3 extra wingers who can play center. You got a bunch of potent offense. You got some guys who can kill penalties and whatnot. I'm a little worried about the defense, but I mean, I don't know. I something tells me that like this is the dumbest statement that I can make. But if the Leafs can win the series, obviously they'll be playing at a certain level that means they're playing well, and that's what's going to take for a lot of these teams to go far in this type of format. But if you look at all team trajectories in terms of like injuries coming back and health and young guys and everything kind of lining up at the right time, things are really lining up for the Leafs.
Yeah, a couple of teams.
Of course, the teams the Leafs are probably going to have to go through, Columbus, Tampa, so on. But I don't know. Something tells me that because of all this stuff that's going on, this will be the year. And then that's all that Leaf fans will hear is, oh, well, you just needed a pandemic to be able to go win a cup.
You still won a cup.
Storyline. Exactly. But you know that's the type of storyline that will come out.
But who cares? I wouldn't care.
I don't care, but it's just funny.
Yeah, I technically had to beat more teams in the playoffs than any other year. Like, really?
Exactly.
Had to win the most games to win the cup.
Especially if you're one of the teams that has to win through the playoff round.
Which they would. So they would have had to win 3 more games than any other Stanley Cup champion in history.
Potentially play 5 more than any other team.
Yeah.
The fact that they have Anderson and Campbell, and it makes me feel really nice that they've already announced Joseph Wall as their number 3, who's the kid that they're in love with.
Yep.
I think that any goalie you turn to, obviously you're not going to go to Wall unless something's happened, but between Anderson and Campbell, I don't think I think the last thing that the Leafs are going to have to worry about is goaltending, as long as the defense kind of holds up. But I'm really excited. I hope this all turns out because they're going to be putting the roster out that is the apex potential roster that they could have hoped for this season. Like in terms of all their injuries back and all the guys performing and all the guys slotted in their correct spots and they're like being pushed down to their appropriate slottings and all that other shit. Everybody's in the right spot except for Janssen. And if the Leafs can get through round 1 and get Janssen back and not suffer any other major injuries, you're going to have all these defensemen pushing each other for ice time, which is obviously only going to be good things. If they can go 2 or 3 rounds, they're going to have 4 or 5 players that they can turn around and trade for picks and stuff in the offseason. And all of a sudden you backload that talent with more guys in the draft. Oh, man.
Game 1s and best of 5s have never been so important.
Have they?
Best of 5s? Like, you're down 1.
No home ice.
What?
No home ice.
What do you mean? I just mean, like, being down 1 game, 0-1, is just, like, that's a much bigger hole when it's a best of 5.
Maybe.
You don't really have room to fuck up after that.
I honestly feel like this year we could see more crazy stuff like that, like people being down 3-0 and coming back from a sweep to winning series or stuff like that. Like we're gonna see some crazy stuff because it's just completely different.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just have a feeling that like first 3 games in almost every series probably will be win. Like it will be 2-1. I don't think many series will go up like 2-0, 3-0.
Yeah.
I don't really see that. So like 1 game, it's important to get that first win. I don't know, with no fans, no home ice, you're probably going to play 3 games.
I keep forgetting the no fans to get your blood going.
They said today it sounds like there's going to be a morning game, like a mid-afternoon game.
Yeah, hockey all day.
Night game.
Hockey all day.
So there'd be like Eastern time, it would be like 9 or 10, maybe even 10:30 in the morning, and then
kind of like Olympic style.
1, exactly, and then it would be like 12:31, kind of like baseball times a little bit.
Yeah.
Then there'd be a game at like 6 or 7, and then there'd be a game at like 9:30.
Yeah, like for basketball fans, Christmas Day where you have the game after game
Yeah,
after game like that.
just all day. Like, I
Don't
would
get me,
love to
don't
sit
get my
down and
hopes
just
up,
watch
Tori.
hockey.
That's like a gambler's dream. I'm telling you.
The reason why I brought that up is like, let's say you're team X and you're playing in the morning on one night, and then you're playing the next day in the evening, and then you have 2 nights off. You play in the morning and then night again. Like, does anything carry over between those games? Like in terms of like momentum and stuff like
It's kind of
that?
gonna feel like when you were a
No.
kid and you went to like an out of town tournament and you like stayed there for
Mm.
the weekend and that's what this is gonna be like.
Exactly. And like I remember going to those tournaments and sometimes you showed up and you're like kicking butt and you're like
Yeah,
on all cylinders and you're like, we are dominant. And then like sometimes you go and you're like,
no
it
gas.
just didn't click. It
Yep,
didn't work that time.
yep.
So any team, I feel like, especially the ones in the playoff round, when you're talking about 5 games after not playing, not training, like that's the other thing that everybody keeps talking about is during the lockouts when they didn't play for a couple months, everybody was still training. People were still running drills. People were still practicing. Yeah, maybe it was half the team on your local pond and not with your coach in your team facility, but like everybody was still gathering and training together, passing pucks, showing each other their new deeks, trying different things together as a team, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
These players haven't played or seen their teammates in weeks. Like chemistry for me would probably be thrown out the window in round one. Which what does that impact? What
It's
does
like
that mean?
preseason. It's so weird. Yeah.
Basically, and then if you're talking about okay, you have these teams who have 3 to 5 games in this play-in series, and it's like nothing matters, we're chill. Okay, you're playing for your lives, and then you have these other teams where they're like you haven't been doing anything, but now you're playing for position. Well, A, what happens with the injury bug that could change anything. Then B, if you want a team that's had 4 games where they've been pushed and punched in the face and beaten versus 4 teams who have just gently pushed each other, trying to get their legs back, that kind of stuff. Now you're jumping into a series. Who really
Potential
has the
upset.
benefit?
Yeah. No, totally. And
Everything goes out the window.
it's kind of
Everything.
it's so different because the off time they've had from COVID is as long as an off season normally is. 3 months, no, like a lot changes
That's
in
why
3 months.
yeah, and that's why I'm starting to like the idea of this format full time because like obviously it's not ideal that like some teams haven't played forever, but like you have these formats, it's really going to be the best team that season. So yeah, it's going to take longer. Well, then cut the season down from 82 to 78 games, let's say.
Yeah.
You cut down those couple of games. You cut down 2 weeks, and maybe you shrink the preseason by a week, or the prospect camps you tighten them up a little bit instead of having like a 2-week layover in between, and then you can just solve those other problems there. But I don't know. There's some players I'm worried about. I know I just kind of changed topics there, but like when I was saying that, it came up in my mind for Joe Thornton. Imagine a guy right now, Joe Thornton. What is he, 30, 38, 39, 39, 40,
Yeah.
something like that? And he didn't get traded, so he's not playing, but he said that he wants to come back and play. He hasn't practiced or skated or anything. He's had all this family time now for 2 months, 3 months. And now you're saying, okay, maybe the NHL is not returning until January 1st, 2021. Telling a 38-year-old he'll be able to come back in 6 months from now and then play a full season after that, I'm pretty sure we've seen the last of Joe Thornton. Then you just take that to the next layer of players. Like, remember the last I know this isn't a lockout, but remember in the lockout when we came back, it was kind of like
No, I didn't really
pay
come
for-
back with the lockout, so
okay. Well, like there was always kind of that assumption where it's like, this guy's kind of being paid for what he did for us before.
yeah.
Nobody cared because there wasn't really a cap. But what happened is all those players who kind of were in the league because of what they've done and not really because they're still producing, all found themselves without jobs. I feel like we're going to see another transition period here starting next year. And then if it's a shortened season or whatever, and then it goes back to the next year and it takes 2 seasons to get back in line with the normal time frame, it's going to kick out a lot of the 35-plussers.
It's new age. It's like the real world, too. It's a little bit of turnover is going to be happening with people just being forced out.
Yeah.
It's the new age for the middle age. In hockey, it's younger, but it's kind of with everything going on.
It intrigues me too because like if we talk about this upcoming off season, If you tell these guys like Taylor Hall and whatever who are waiting for this big payday, yeah, instead of having like 3 months to negotiate and find the perfect fit and then move your family and get comfortable, you now have 4 weeks to do this or 6 weeks
I
to
think
do
he
this.
lost out huge because of all this pandemic stuff.
I agree. So does that,
People are going to be safer with their money, and especially in business like this as well.
so if
Watching
you were
everything that's
him,
happening in baseball, it's
yeah.
gonna be different.
If you were Taylor Hall though, and you were given an option of, okay, I'll give you a 6-year deal at below market value. We won't even talk numbers, but 6-year deal at below market value, a 1 or 2-year deal at your market value, or whatever. What would you pick?
Is it a place I want to be? Then I'd pick the long-term deal.
That's exactly what I was going for. So now that opens another angle. So how many of these guys coming off deals or these older guys who still want to show they can stay in the league and all this other stuff?
Yep.
How many guys are just going to say, you know what, just re-up me on a 1-year deal and we'll just figure this out next off season? And how many guys are going to say, you know what, fuck the money. I know I'm worth $2.5 million. I want to go play where I want to play.
It seems
Toronto's
like the leverage
$1 million.
is really leaving the players' hands at this point and returning to the owners, which is fine. Should make for better teams being built.
It also is going to make it a very, very tricky situation filled with landmines for GMs to navigate this offseason, which I'm particularly excited for.
Probably got a lot of
And I have a feeling there's gonna be monster moves, like guys we've never even brought up before, and guys like there could be compliance buyouts, which could just open a whole new can of worms. There could be all these other things that could happen, and like if, for example, there's no AHL season next year, what team can afford to fly around a second plane or a taxi squad of players? Only a handful. Now, if there's 75 free agents and there's only 40 spots for them, how many of those guys are going to say, well, I'll just wait for a spot to open up, but that means I just have to ride around with Team X for 3 months until that spot opens? Now, if there's only 5 teams who can afford to do that, those 5 teams are going to have a massive advantage, right? So, like, you look at a team like the Rangers or Toronto or Montreal. I mean, nobody really wants to go to Montreal right now, so that's a little bit of a different situation. I'm not really trying to jab at them, but that's the problem they're coming across. But, I mean, Leafs could do something here where they essentially buy 2 or 3 guys at under market, a couple of their current guys that they've committed to, and then also add picks and assets while doing so.
Yeah.
And really change the makeup of this team. Like, I think everybody understands they got to get better on D, and I think everyone understands they got to get more size and more kind of, sandpaper and whatnot. But I don't know. I think that there's going to be massive trades this offseason that we did not expect.
And we'll be here to cover every trade from every angle.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at some of the teams, Anaheim intrigues me because I think the compliance buyout for Kessler could be a thing, or Eves could be a thing. But I also think Getzlaf could be traded. I think that could be a thing. Arizona, don't care. Boston's got some turnover coming. Buffalo's an intriguing situation.
Yeah, they're going to be definitely with the high draft pick that they're going to be getting.
It sounds like Ristolainen almost wants out, and it seems like most of the league doesn't value him to what Buffalo does. So if you're going to trade him, but you're going to get less than you want for him, that's another poor decision on the hands of the Sabres.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to poke. I'm just being real, right? Like it looks a little.
Totally.
I think the Sabres are walking a bit of a dangerous line right now. Like they really got to
get their shit together.
I read an article the other day, and it was saying what the value of Jack Eichel is around the league.
Okay.
Me, how the hell would you know what the value is if he should just not be available? Like, you could say, yeah, I want 5 first-round picks, but it wasn't like that. It was like, this is what his value would be. And it's like, the fact that that's basically a stat, like there was no specific names, but it was like, a young roster player with 30-goal potential, a first-round draft pick. In
it seems like it was straight speculation because there's no way he's ever gone. He's got 7 years left or something.
Yeah, but I don't know.
They get 2 full rotation shots at trying to put a team around this kid.
Yeah, and I agree. It just, to me, the fact that there's word out there that the value is known for what it could be had for, not had for, but what they would ever even want to even have that discussion, just
Mhm.
shows that they're not convinced. Like if I was the GM, I'd be like, no, I'm not even having that conversation. He's my guy. We're gonna win with him.
Yeah,
Move on.
totally.
You know what I mean? Like it shouldn't
Yep.
even have got to that point. So that kind of scares me a little bit. That I don't see why that conversation is even a thing. And the fact that Ristolainen's now basically following suit on O'Reilly, and they didn't really hit as well as I thought they may have originally on that trade. I don't know. I was really pulling for them, but I'm worried. But I think that they could do something big and crazy. Calgary, I know I've been saying Johnny Gaudreau. I think he gets traded to the Devils. Carolina, I think, is finally going to have to trade some defense for a goalie or for scoring.
Yeah.
I mean, Chicago, who knows what they're doing? Colorado's going to have to get a goaltender. Columbus has got some expiring contracts. Who knows what Detroit is? There's a lot of teams that have a lot of pieces where
Ottawa's gonna have some crazy shit with 2 draft picks.
watch Ottawa because they're not going to keep all, 13 draft picks this draft?
Well,
I
that's
would
the
just take
thing. Like, it's the way that NHL is. Like, it's a competitive league. Like, just a 1 year, 2 years out, you're right back in it if you play it well. So
That's
it's
why I
gonna be
believe the good
exciting.
teams are going to really commit. You can't commit to non-core players. Like as much as it may hurt
You can't.
sometimes to
No, you need
say
to build a
we
core, and
love
then
this.
you can just fill in
Yep,
around it. Kind of like Moneyball in a way. Like money.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like I think that you can have maybe 6 out of your 23.
It's kind of
Maybe.
the model the Penguins and the Leafs are doing, right? We
I
talked
mean,
about this
really, if
before.
you break down the game of hockey, what are the most important positions? Your goaltender, at least one defenseman, if not two, one or
And
two
centers.
centermen, and then a scoring winger. That's 5-ish pieces. So if you look around at teams, like that's what I like to do sometimes is like, let's say look at teams' 8 best pieces, because that will most likely be what wins them games 8 out of 10 times. So if
Yep.
over the course of a
Like
season
wins
you can
over
really
replacement.
exactly, yeah. So I'll look at that, and like some teams you're like the Islanders, for example, successful when you do that kind of practice, when you're like, what are their 8 best players versus, let's say, the Leafs or Vancouver, even, or whatever, Chicago, it doesn't even stand up, yet that team just bucks the trend, right?
Yeah.
So it's always interesting to see the 8 teams that follow the trend and then the 2 teams that kind of buck it. So
Yep.
I don't know.
It's gonna
I'm
be
interested to see what
it's
happens.
gonna be an awesome couple months, man. Like having it all crammed in. It's almost like we're skipping over the off season because we just kind of dealt with it, and now we got hockey for the next while
Yep.
in a couple of weeks, hopefully, if everything goes
Hopefully.
if everything
What
goes
did
to
they
plan.
say? August 1st? August 1st.
Yeah, I think like people like starting to be in the arenas on the 1st of July.
Well, I heard today on the radio it was what's his name? Dave Poulin,
Okay.
a former GM
Yep.
in the league and whatever. He was just basically saying like they asked him one question about the hub centers and he went off on a bit of a tangent, and what I got out of it basically, like he seems rather connected. What I read out of the situation is that like the NHL has picked their 2 ideal sites, and one's in the States and one is in Canada, so that they can separate everybody and not have to worry about anything until the cup final. There will be a layover for the cup final. But the problem is that they don't know, based on Canada's rules and stuff, and based on the rules specifically of their 2 desired or 2 preferred places, if it's
Yep.
going to happen and when and how soon it can happen.
Yeah.
So he basically suggested that there won't be a situation where it's like, hey, the NHL announces this is where it's going to be, and then 3 weeks later everybody shows up and that's where we're at. He thinks it's going to be, okay, players, you're either going to Toronto or Vancouver. So plan, and it will be approximately June 25th. You'll be flying out, and we'll tell you maybe the day before if it's going to be
Which
X or
one?
Y.
Yeah,
So it,
I was listening to Trudeau. It was last week. He was asked point blank about the NHL coming, and he basically said it's going to be left up to the public health officials. My guess, realistically, if you're going to go on what places handle it the best and blah 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 blah, it would be in Vancouver,
hmm.
because just the number of cases and that. and like we haven't had deaths in a couple days and all that stuff. But at the same time, I believe our public health minister might be the strictest. So it's a little, I don't know, like if it's coming down to that, I don't know. It kind of worries me that it comes down to this because of all the stats that come out. It's just like we haven't freaked out about this for other diseases and stuff that cause just as much harm and stuff. So like, it's not to go down that rabbit hole, but I just want it to be allowed at your own risk.
Yeah, then
it's a political game at this point, right?
But I was going to say different centers. Like you have some centers that are more like flashy, wine and dine, maybe not ideal logistically speaking, but it would be nice for the families, and it would be nice if you got to live at the same place for 3 months. It would be fancy and it would be enjoyable. But then if you get into the rinks and stuff like that, maybe it's not as ideal.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have a place like Toronto where they have like 9 rinks within a 5-minute drive.
That's a good point,
where you can do all the different practices. They're already set up. The facility is set up for TVs and cameras and these other things.
Good point.
The hotel is attached to the training facility, so you can essentially lock it off and no public. So it's only NHL and its players. So, but it's less fancy.
Yeah, one big difference too in Ontario to the British Columbia, just politics wise, you guys have the Conservative government, which is a little more business and that friendly than us, who have the NDP, who are a little more.
Yeah.
Like, I could very well see if the NHL came here, there'd be protesting against it here.
Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of what I've been saying. It's just like the Edmonton is only in it, I think. Vancouver is only in it, I think, is because the most attractive. And like I said, if NHL players were told, hey, you're going to be locked in one place for 3 months, it's their ideal choice.
Yep.
At the NHL to try and get it on TV and do all the logistic things, I think it's the least ideal choice. When the dust settles, if Toronto's available, I think Vancouver loses that race.
Yep.
If Toronto's not available, I think they could win that race, but there could also be a situation where they both lose the race and it ends up going to US as well.
Yep.
So, but it sounds like Vegas is the hub for West.
Oh, does it?
Because they're saying that because a lot of the hotels are closed down right now, they have the most amount of hotels and they have enough where it could be a hotel per team. Which would be the best way to keep everybody more secure and feel more safe, right?
The casinos have started opening up in Vegas this past week. It's pretty funny watching some of the videos out there.
Yeah.
With my ear to the heartbeat of the poker community, so.
They had one, and it was a smokable casino. Like, you could smoke in the casino, and a guy had a mask on, and he had gloves on, but he was smoking. And it's like...
It had it sticking out the side, and then he, like...
Yeah.
I saw that video.
It's like, what the hell? Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for this. I just need some sports. Like, once we're done here, we're going to look more at the baseball stuff, but, like...
Well, your blood's not getting pumped up for the golf that's starting up tomorrow?
I don't
follow golf. I just joke.
I'm the biggest hack fan when it comes to golf. I don't watch golf. Like I watched that Skins game that past week. That was entertaining. I don't watch like golf on the weekend. I don't track my handicap. I don't know the terms or the official guidelines. I can play and I can shoot well. Like I usually shoot high 70s, low 80s.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty good golfer, but like I don't know. I'm so hack when it comes to knowing stuff and like watching it and being a part of it. I'm just like, man.
Just those sports I've watched them periodically, usually when Tiger's about to do something legendary. But that's basically it for me. There won't be any golf podcasts or anything coming to iHeart Sports anytime soon. So.
Like I used to sit down and watch all the sports and like take in sports and take in everything that's happening.
Yep, me too.
Even like sports like baseball, who I've found to slow down and stuff over the last couple of years. I like to do stuff. So like, spreadsheets or research or like, cleaning or like whatever needs to be done while I'm doing it. I can't sit down for like hockey's the only sport I'm willing to sit down and do nothing while I'm watching. But as soon as the intermission hits, it's like, oh,
exciting, fast-paced sport.
Yeah. Even like basketball and football and stuff like that. Like there is no other sport where I can legitimately be like, hey, I'm excited to sit down for 2.5 hours and like watch this thing,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it, especially playoff hockey. Like I'm going to be watching hockey all day, every
I'm
day.
gonna be
If it's,
gambling up a storm on this shit. So
I
I've
bet,
been
I
without
bet.
some sports gambling for a bit. So I think sometime maybe the rest probably tomorrow night or Friday I'm gonna do a video just breaking down the odds of the first round matchups, and I'm gonna pretend I have $100 to bet on each series and see what I can put together. See if I can be profitable.
We should do that. We should bet like $10 on each series just for fun.
All right.
Yeah, I can't do more than that, but if we
No,
did, I could.
I was just gonna do hypothetical. Like I have a hundred
Oh, okay.
dollars because $100 is the easy way to when you use the odds what the payout would be.
Yeah,
Um, so like I would just bet on every series and at the end see if I would have been profitable if I bet all those or which
yeah.
yeah.
I can't wait. This hockey's gonna be so good.
Oh yeah. Sucks that it
Hey man,
feels so far
you
away
want to
still.
wrap that there?
Yeah, I think that was a good one. I don't
Go off on some more tangents if you want, but I think we've gone a
I
little
can save
bit
them for
here.
next week or the week after, whenever we meet back up again. Hopefully soon. Um,
Exactly.
cool. All right, nice chatting.
Appreciate it.
Take care, my
Dick,
friend.
man. I'd see you later.
Bye.